We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We gotta add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And I am very excited to be here today because Bitcoin, as you know, set a local bottom at $80,000 last week. The question now becomes, was that the bottom? Is Bitcoin going to rally from here? Are we going to see a major blast off on Bitcoin back up to 94,000, back up to 100,000? Or is Bitcoin, as I hope it does, going to drop even lower, back down towards more friendly investment levels? As you guys know, the lower you buy, the better off you do. And there are a lot of models that are coming out right now showing you exactly what that looks like. Whenever you see Bitcoin 30% retrace from all-time high, that is historically the time to begin buying. That is historically the time to begin investing. And so when we're looking at this kind of major everything's on the microphone. When we're looking at this kind of major correction that we've seen over the last few weeks, this should give us pause, and this should help us to understand that now is a good time to be building our portfolio. Really appreciate you all being here. Big shout out to Brian Barrett in chat, Queen, Mike Lowry, David Trahan, Angela W., Angela, I think is the way that you pronounce that actually. Good afternoon from England. Good afternoon. Crypto OG. Psycho. That's a funny way to pronounce to spell that. SYKO. Never seen that before. That's creative. Good to see you guys. Welcome to the stream. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get started. Bitcoin over the last 24 hours is basically sideways. Over the last 7 days, we're still down. We're down 7%, but overall, we have seen some kind of a bounce here, and that's really what we're going to focus on today is this bounce and whether or not it is real. I'm concerned that it's not. Just going to go ahead and put that out there. I'm concerned that it's not. Bitcoin has, if you zoom in and look at it like this, has done a great job of putting in a bottom. We dropped down to 80,000. We came up here on the 15-minute chart, smacked our head right here against $85,000 4 times. That's the 0.786 Fibonacci level. We had originally done an underside test of it. We didn't break through it. Instead, what we ended up seeing is that Bitcoin, we didn't end up fully capitulating off of it. Instead, we retraced and we ended up breaking through it and back testing it a couple of times, rallying up here yesterday up to $89,300. The concern is that momentum seems to be waning, and a big part of the reason for that may be the fact that we actually have an Elliott wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern. Does this check all of our Elliott wave boxes? Number one, the bottom of the 4 wave cannot be below the bottom of the 4 wave cannot be below the top of the 1 wave. Check. Is the 3 wave the shortest wave? It is not. Check. And then also we have to make sure that the 2 wave is not below the bottom of the 1 wave. Check. This is confirmed Elliott wave, which would mean if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'd be expecting an A, B, C correction, right? So that would mean that we are currently in the A movement. We might see a B movement and then a C movement. And so if we see this kind of thing happen, what would it look like? Well, oftentimes when you're trying to figure out where the A is going to go, you will see that Bitcoin is going to drop down to the 0.618. And that's exactly what happened. Bitcoin dropped down to the 0.618 after having dropped down to the 0.382. This is some beautiful Fibonacci trend. This is just a beautiful Fibonacci trend here. And in fact, you even have a nested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So what you would be expecting here pretty soon is that Bitcoin on this larger time frame ABC would reject into the B wave, which in and of itself will be an ABC correction off of this downtrend. I know we're getting pretty technical here, but we're trying to figure out where Bitcoin's going, so we got to kind of bust out everything to figure out what's going on. If we look at our Fibonacci's, we're going to get a little bit more information. We're going to see the Bitcoin on the bottom of the 3 wave right here dropped down to the 0.618. On the 4 wave, we rallied back up to the 0.382. Then we dropped down to the 0.786. What this tells me is that this 0.786 here at 86,000 is probably not going to hold. The reason for that is, generally speaking, you can tell the strength of the overall primary trend, which the primary trend is this big old uptrend right here, based on how deep the correction has to drop. If the correction has to drop down to 0.786, then generally speaking, that means that the uptrend is not very strong. And all of this is just a technical way of saying this looks like a dead cat bounce. I mean, we are defining scientifically why it is, but if you just look at it, you give it the sniff test, this does not look like a very strong bounce. We move to the downside at this angle. We're moving to the upside at that angle. Okay? Common sense doesn't really look like a really great movement here, but down here on the 15-minute chart, you're starting to see why as well when we start piecing out, okay, that's why my brain is saying that this doesn't look good, because we're correcting lower than we should. This is not a strong uptrend like this. This is kind of a weak uptrend like that. You understand what I mean? Okay. Now, if we bottomed here at the bottom of the A wave, then that means that theoretically we're going to go to the top of the B wave. Well, how would we get to the top of the B wave? Well, we would probably be looking at a couple of different things. One, we could look at these Fibonacci levels and these previous zones of trading. It is very possible that Bitcoin's going to rally up to $87,000 or even up to $88,200. I'm going to anticipate that Bitcoin's probably going to do something like this. It's probably going to rally somewhere into here over the rest of today. Sometime today, we're probably going to rally into here around 87 to 88,000. From that point in time, if we break higher, then great. You just broke all of our Fibonacci's. You just broke all of our technical analysis, but that's fine because Bitcoin goes into a confirmed uptrend. However, if you make a lower high below 89,000, then what you end up doing is you end up creating a head and shoulders pattern right there. You end up creating that head and shoulders pattern right here. It's a little bit lopsided, but it's there, right? And so if you end up creating that sort of head and shoulders pattern right here, what does that mean? Well, that would give us a price target drawing from head to neckline. That'd give you a price target down towards 82. And that's how you could start to see this bounce fall over. As you guys know, we are in bear market mode below 94,000. If we break up above 94,000, great. We're back in bull market mode, possibly. But we, at this point, have had a confirmed bear market start. Do I like that? From a fundamental standpoint, it doesn't make that much sense, to be honest with you. From a fundamental standpoint, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because of what's going on in 2026. Rate cuts, new Fed chair, etc. All these things are likely going to lead to a very bullish undertone in the market. But technically speaking, from the technical analysis standpoint, we have to say we're in a bear market below certain time frames, not below certain time frames, I'm sorry, below certain price levels, because that's just what the data is telling us. And so when we are in a bear market, typically what you're going to see happen is you're going to see bearish setups take place, which is what we're seeing right here. You have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a beautiful, perfect textbook 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is an ABC. And then so if you get into that kind of discussion about where does the market actually move, well, then what you end up seeing is that if this is an A, B, C correction, you're trying to extrapolate the C, what you would do is you take a trend-based fib extension off of the A wave, and wouldn't you look at that? It's right there at 83,000. Where does this point? Right down here. And so our prediction for what the market's going to do, what I think is going to happen is you're going to see Bitcoin move up somewhere into, let's be a little bit more specific. Let's use our actual Fibonacci's. I think what you're going to see happen is you're going to see Bitcoin move up into a zone, a little bit something like this, right around here, somewhere around here. And then I think that Bitcoin is going to take that trend-based fib extension and it's going to follow through on this technically perfectly. And then it's going to drop right down here at some point over here to between like 83 and 84,000. This is what I think is going to happen, and that's why I think it's going to happen. Could it not happen? Absolutely. It might fail. But this would be a very realistic extrapolation of the market data that we have thus far. And if we do see this happen, then that leaves us with a couple of scenarios. Either one, this market falls over and this C wave actually turns into a 3 wave on the Elliott wave structure, because this is a big old C wave. You could have a rally back up here to like 85,000 and then fall over back down here. At that point in time, you've got this cup and maybe a handle that's pointing lower. That's what you could see happen here if this whole structure is a dead cat bounce. On the other hand, if we get down to this level right here, and Bitcoin manages to hold, and this was just the ABC, and you start a new 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you could see that this is an A, B, C, right? And this could point us back up towards 94,000. There's just a lot of different ways that this can chart. But the point here is that this is a very technically driven market once again, but it's a technically driven market that is predominantly a bear market. Unless Bitcoin gets above critical levels around $94,000 to $100,000, this is still a bear market, and we should be looking for short trades rather than long trades because that is the direction of the market. Bitcoin, when it dropped below and did an overside underside test of 94,000, confirmed a bear market. And so when we are looking for trade setups, we want to keep that daily bias, but also that market bias in mind. All right, let's read a little bit of chat here. People are asking me to look at the BTC.D chart. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Hey guys, by the way, if you haven't already, make sure to check out Stampseed. Big shout out to Stampseed. The reason that you want to check them out, we got a little band hammer here. Love the band hammer. When we got the bots in chat, we go, boom! Hit them with the boom. Hit them with the band hammer. If you want to keep your seed phrases safe, you're going to want to take the Stampseed band hammer of truth and justice right here, and you're going to want to stamp your seed phrases into titanium. You take the hammer, you got these little dies, boom, stamp it into there. So you feel like such a man, just stamping stuff into titanium. You feel like Iron Man over here working on your seed phrases, you know. But the point is here, you can kind of see it going on here on this little animation here. When you stamp your seed phrases into titanium, they become safe from fire. Because here's the thing, if your house burns down, your Bitcoin's gone. All that work, it wasn't just your house, it's your Bitcoin. You don't want to lose both of them. You already lost your house to a house fire. You don't want to lose your Bitcoin. So make sure to check out Stampseed. Links in the description box. Down below. Down below. Check them out. All right. Let's look at BTC.D. Let's do it. Very interesting chart. Very, very, very interesting chart. We have an overside, underside test here on BTC.D. See, this is, and that's basically forming a head and shoulders pattern here. The reason that this is such an interesting chart is because people are saying that this is going to lead to an alt season. I want to be very clear on something. If Bitcoin goes into a bear market, this is probably not going to trigger an alt season. However, in the scenario where Bitcoin does not go into a bear market, in the scenario where Bitcoin is able to recover above $100,000 and we're able to start moving to the upside, this could very well lead into a into an alt season. My problem with waiting for alt season is that there's a lot of different ways that you can predict it, but ultimately the bottom line is altcoins rally after Bitcoin has had a major rally, not after Bitcoin has had a major crash. This is something that we see historically. Altcoins do very well in the shadow of Bitcoin doing very well. Does that make sense? They do very well in the shadow of Bitcoin doing very well. Bitcoin dominance dumps as Bitcoin explodes. You see that? So that's just something you want to keep in mind, right? As Bitcoin is up here at all-time highs, that's when Bitcoin dominance is at all-time lows because Bitcoin has something to give. The money flows into Bitcoin, and then when that flows over, then it flows into the altcoins, right? It's not this thing where Bitcoin crashes and then you go into a big alt season. That's not typically what happens. Unless, and this is the one caveat, unless what we're going through right now is the mid-cycle crash that we saw in 2021. In that event, that's where you could see alt season start, is if Bitcoin does get a big bounce here. If Bitcoin gets above 100,000 and everybody says, okay, well, I guess we're not going into bear market, that's when you might see money flowing into altcoins. But right now, that's not what's happening. Ethereum's jumping off a cliff. It barely hit an all-time high. It dropped 47% in 90 days. If you see an alt season of any caliber right now, it is essentially just these different coins that have been eviscerated lately, regaining the market capitalization that they lost. Okay, so if you see an altcoin rally, they have to double to get back to where they were just a few weeks ago. And so, is there money to be made there? Absolutely. Are some of these projects incredible? Absolutely. Like Link, for example. These are great long-term investment opportunities if you believe in them, right? Link sitting down here, I'm going to be honest, Link is looking like a really solid buy because I really like Chainlink. I don't like most altcoins. Chainlink I do. That's tempting. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. That's very tempting. That's really, really tempting. So if you are an investor in altcoins, if you're a fan of altcoins, we are moving into a good direction where there are possibly some buying opportunities. For example, if you look on the Ethereum chart, see there's a trend line right there that we're kind of dropping down to, building this big old inverse head and shoulders pattern. If you're going to buy altcoins, now would be the time to do it. But that's the if. That's the if you're going to buy altcoins. So if you're going to buy altcoins, now would not be a bad time to do it. I will say that. Not be a bad time to do it. Because these are very oversold territories. I mean, it's the same thing that we saw happen on Bitcoin, right? We see Ethereum's RSI just a few days ago was down here at 27. Right now it's at 31. You've got this exhaustive downtrend right here that is probably going to break. I mean, Ethereum is going to have a rally. It's most likely going to happen. It's not a bad idea to, build a long position here on some of these coins. It'll probably print. I mean, for example, let's say this. Let's say there's a long trade right here. Let's say we're pointing it back at all-time high. If you did a 10x leverage long, it'd be kind of hard to get the risk to reward to line up with you on 10x. But even on like 5x, it'd still be hard, but you could probably pull it off. You could build a levered long here. You could do it. And you could do it on Chainlink. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. It's a real possibility. Something I'm thinking about doing. Because I'm more so interested in trading alts than I am in investing in them. But like these are pretty big long-term swing trades that could print. They could do it. Yeah, that was interesting. I might look at like a 5 to a 7x leverage long on some of these just for funsies. See what they do. See how they do. But we are sitting down here on some pretty solid support uptrends. So I will give you that. It does make sense. It does make sense. Hey guys, real quick before we keep going, I want to give a big shout out to none other than NordVPN. If you guys have not already, I highly encourage you to check out NordVPN because we are going into Black Friday and I want you to save big. NordVPN has a massive discount going on right now for everybody who signs up over just the next few days. If you want to sign up for NordVPN, now's the time to do it. You've heard about NordVPN for the last like 15 years. They're the biggest VPN provider in the world. Fantastic company. And when you sign up for NordVPN using our link by going to nordvpn.com/Jeb, very easy link. It's also in the description box down below. You can sign up right now and get 4 months free. So here's the deal. If you come over here and select a 2-year plan, which you should, and you come here and get this plus plan, this is the one I want you to buy. This is what I want you to get. It's $105 for 28 months. That's 2 years, 4 months. You're going to get the full NordVPN suite for $3.75 a month. You're going to get the best VPN on the market. You're going to get the anti-malware and browsing protection. You're also going to get the ad tracker and blocker. A lot of you guys are like, oh my gosh, I hate ads. Okay, do something about it. Sign up for NordVPN. Links down below. And then you've also got the password manager and the breach scanner. These are phenomenal too because the password manager is going to help you stay organized. So, hello, sovereignty. We want to bring things under control. We want to be good stewards. We want things to be in order. And when you have your passwords written here, there, and everywhere, you're probably going to be doing the thing that a lot of people do where you're like, I go to log into something, I forgot my password, I have to reset my password every time I log into something. It's a complete mess. NordVPN is going to help keep you safe, private, protected, organized, and productive while you browse online. This is like a basic, just I use the internet kind of deal. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for NordVPN. Use the VPN to keep yourself private, safe, and protected from hackers, thieves, and scammers. And also make sure to get that password manager and the ad blocker. They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Big shout out to NordVPN. Big shout out to NordVPN. All right, let's read chat for a little bit. If BTC is staging a dead cat bounce, why should we buy alts now? And that's really the risk profile, is that if Bitcoin is doing a dead cat bounce, then alts will probably go lower. But at the same time, I mean, if you're going to go into a trade, that's kind of that is the trade. I'm sorry, that's the trade. Is that you got to take risks. So alts one way or another are in a pretty strong buy zone if you believe in them. Now I'm going to be honest. There's only like 5 to 10 altcoins in the entire game that I think are worth anything. I think the vast majority of them are absolute trash that are either not decentralized or what they're trying to do would be better done centralized. But there are some genuinely really strong altcoins. Solana, Ethereum, with how big Binance is. Binance Smart Chain obviously is a pretty good play. Chainlink is phenomenal. They've secured like $20 trillion in transactions. There's a few others, but generally speaking, if you're going to buy Bitcoin, if you're going to buy the crypto market, just buy Bitcoin. Look, if Bitcoin goes back to all-time high from here, it's just back to all-time high. You made 44%. That's an incredible continual average growth rate. You got to take advantage of these dips when they show up. You got to do it. All right. Now, I got to wrap it out here in just a little bit, but I want to give you a bit of an overview about where Bitcoin will go if we do get an actual strong bounce. And that would be most likely back up to the 50. You see the 50 right here is sitting at 102,000. It's going to dip below $100,000 here quite soon. And when it does, that is going to be an excellent target for the bulls to hit. Because what you got to understand is that the markets have been liquidating long traders for the last 2 months. And that's gotten a little boring now because none of them have any money anymore. And so what we see now is that there's a bunch of short positions up here. Juicy short positions to go get liquidated. And so there will probably at some point be a short squeeze. I don't know whether that's going to happen in the very short term or if it's going to take a while. But that's basically what this was, running this up right here. That was basically one big short squeeze, all the way up to $89,000. And so there's going to be a big short squeeze. We don't know when it is, but the best thing that we want to do right now is that we want to take advantages. We want to take advantage of the opportunities. There's the plural. We want to take advantage of the opportunities that Bitcoin presents itself when we drop down here below 85,000. Anything below $85,000 is a generational buy on Bitcoin. Could it drop down to 40? Yeah, that'd be even more of a generational buy. But anything below $85,000 is already almost a third off. Talk about a Black Friday deal, guys. Bitcoin's on sale. Anything below $85,000 is 33% off. That means that if it goes back to all-time high, it's a 50% return. Now, of course, we would love to see Bitcoin down 50% from all-time high. I would love to see Bitcoin down 50% from all-time high. If Bitcoin drops down 50% from all-time high, that'd be a drop down to 62,000. That means that when you run back to all-time high, that's a price deal. I'd love to see Bitcoin go down there. So what we want to do right now is we really want to be thinking as traders, and there's a lot of really great technical technical setups right now for the traders, but we also want to be thinking about investors. By the way, let's just see here. I have a feeling that's on a fib level. I got a feeling. Let me see. Got a feeling. Look at that. We hit the trend-based fib extension. I just kind of looked at them like, I think that these two levels up here were called by the trend-based fib. And sure enough, they were. I love technical analysis, guys. And also, trading is really fun, especially in quiet markets, because when the market's quiet, that's when the charts really take over and people are really just going through, the technicals. Now, one of the last things I want to talk about here before we wrap it out, because we really do need to get, I got to go make the video for you guys. Isan Van 1050 said, how about the MSCI MicroStrategy JP Morgan thing? So yes, what's going on is MSCI is in charge of who gets to be in index funds, basically. And there is a conversation going on right now about whether or not MicroStrategy should be in index funds. And it has come out that there was a report that was put out, and I'll just let you guess. I'll just let you guess, what impact this had. There was a report that apparently came out about right here, that was talking about whether or not about whether or not Strategy was going to be able to be included in, the S&P 500, NASDAQ, different indices in the future. And there's a lot of doubt being cast on whether or not Strategy is going to be able to stay there. And the reason that's important is because when Strategy is in the major stock indices, that means they get automatic inflows from retirement accounts, which a year ago, this was something that they didn't have. It was a big deal for them to get this. But now it's under question whether or not that's going to continue. And if they do, get taken out of these indices, then Strategy is going to lose a lot of inflows. Here's my take on that. MicroStrategy at 2.5 to 3x NAV was an awful buy. It was a terrible buy. We even drew this chart here. We're like, that's going to break at some point. Sure enough, it did. I think Strategy is a phenomenal company. I do think it's a company that you need to be prepared to trade, and you need to be prepared to trade it based on the NAV, the native asset value, comparison to the stock value, to the actual nominal value of the stock. Right now, it's sitting down at about 1 NAV. and it's likely going to be just fine. People are talking about, oh my gosh, strategy is going to die. No, it's not. Strategy has weathered the last bear market, which was nowhere near as bad as the one that we're going through right now. I'm sorry, that was significantly worse than the one we're going through right now. I do apologize. And when you got down here in those low NAV regions is when you made an absolute killing buying strategy. And so should you have been buying strategy up here at 2.5 to 3x NAV? No. But if strategy goes down to 0.7, 0.8 NAV, and they are able to maintain the prefs, the purse and everything, then that means that they're going to be able to weather the bear market and they're going to recover. And so I firmly believe that MicroStrategy is going to be just fine. They have an enormous amount of assets. They have a very small software business compared to the size of the actual investments, but they have cash and they have different ways of raising funds to pay all the dividends and all the distributions for a very long time. I'm really not concerned here about strategy going insolvent. I'm not concerned about them going bankrupt. This is not something that concerns me. It isn't great if they were to get removed from the indexes, but honestly, I'm not sure that's going to happen. And if it does happen, it just gives you an entry. I mean, it would definitely, it'd crash the price. It just gives you an entry. Like, seriously. You guys have to remember the old saying, you get rich in the bull market, but you get wealthy in the bear market. Jim Chanos, for example, closing a short on MicroStrategy. Why did he do that? Because he did what I just said. He traded the NAV. Massively too high on the NAV. Right now, we're getting to the point where it's like at break even. Go to strategy. Strategy.com. The NAV here, where is it? Right there. This is kind of the diluted NAV. It's 1.17. The actual, depending on how you look at it, it's actually more like 0.97, right? The enterprise value is 65 billion. The Bitcoin value is 56 billion. So this is like 0.87, right? The reason that this is MNAV is because they have other assets, right? They have other assets that are playing into the NAV. But as far as the Bitcoin value, the Bitcoin value is below the enterprise value. It's basically sitting like, it's sitting in a strong buy zone. So in my opinion, I think that it's all a bunch of manipulation to allow big players to buy strategy. And as far as JP Morgan is concerned, JP Morgan loses this fight. They've been losing the fight against Bitcoin for the last decade, and they're going to continue losing the fight against Bitcoin for as long as they continue to be foolish enough to embark on it. All right. So does that mean JP Morgan is going to go bankrupt putting that big short on strategy? JP Morgan is I don't have any reason to believe that JP Morgan is going to go bankrupt on that. JP Morgan is an enormous company. I don't know the size of their position. I know it's pretty big. But they're not going to go bankrupt on one trade. This is what they do for a living, is risk management. They're not going to put themselves in a position to have like a 175-year-old company go bankrupt because of one bad trade. That's not going to happen. They're not going to do that. It's a lot of FUD. It's a bunch of FUD. There's nothing to talk about, so everybody's just making stuff up to talk about. Is JP Morgan and are JP Morgan and MicroStrategy or Strategy fighting? Oh yeah, they are. Is it interesting? Yeah. Is it going to be the end of Bitcoin? No. It's just not. It's blown out of proportion is the best way to put it. There is no second best. Bitcoin is first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. That's right. That's right. All right, guys. By the way, if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to set up an iTrust Capital account. And the reason that you should is because we are coming into the end of the year, which means your investment maximums, your investment limits are going to be reset in 2026 in your traditional IRA, your Roth IRAs, and your SEP IRAs, etc. And so if you want to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, then I highly, highly, highly encourage you to do so through iTrust Capital, because when you invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies through iTrust Capital, you're going to be able to save on taxes by simply not having to pay them. If you invest through a traditional IRA, you don't have to pay taxes on the money that you invest because you can deduct the full amount from your taxes. And the way the deductions work, most of you know it, but for the few of you that might not, whenever you pay taxes, there are tax brackets. And so the income that is higher income, the top, when you get a deduction, you don't have to pay taxes on the top bracket that you're in. So if it's a 22, 24, whatever, when you have a deduction, you don't pay the taxes on that top bracket. So a lot of you guys, the top bracket that you're in is like 24%. If you invest in iTrust Capital, you don't have to pay the 24% taxes on the money that you put in iTrust Capital. So if you put $7,000 a year into your IRA, then that's going to save you 24%, whatever that is. That's, probably about $1,700, $1,650, $1,700 in taxes. You don't have to pay the tax man every year. And that money is money that you can put back in your pocket and reinvest right into Bitcoin if you want to. So this is a fantastic way to build wealth by simply not having to pay the tax man. It's a very, 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 very important thing to figure out how to play the tax game so you pay as few as possible. And I'm giving you one of the best ways to do it in cryptocurrency right now, which is iTrust Capital. So make sure to go to itrustcapital.com/go/crypto-jeb. The link for that is in the description box down below. And when you go and sign up, you're going to be able to set yourself up an IRA, which is going to allow you to succeed in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space by being able to keep more of your money. Really appreciate all of you guys for checking out iTrust Capital, and you will definitely be glad you did. Let's read a few more chats, a few more questions, and then we're going to wrap it out here. There are other companies too, BMNR, Mara, etc. Yeah, I would, unless you do a lot of research, I would personally be careful of the other Bitcoin treasury companies. To be a successful Bitcoin treasury company, you really need to survive the first 5 years when you're going to be negative through a bear market. Strategy's done that. And that's why they are growing so much and why they get so much investment, because they were first to market. It's kind of a similar way that Bitcoin was first to market. There are others that will do well, but it's difficult to replicate, what Strategy has done, because a big part of the reason why they're so successful is because they have a bunch of very early buys that they're still holding. And so that makes this a lot easier to justify what they're doing. They just have a lot more gains that they're sitting on top of. After a 33% drop on Bitcoin, they're still sitting in an overall return. You know what I mean? They're still sitting in an overall return because Bitcoin is still higher than their average price. You see, they're let's see. So you've got the BTC yield YTD 27.8%, almost 650,000 Bitcoin. They've got the average entry is 70. Surprisingly, it doesn't say it here, but it's about 75,000. And the Bitcoin price is 87. So they're still up, well over $10 billion. So yeah, they're in fine shape. I'm not concerned about it at all, really. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stream. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to follow us over on X at CryptoJeb. Go to @CryptoJeb on X. Follow us. Make sure to check out NordVPN. Massive Black Friday sale that will not be here for long. So if you have not already, highly encourage you to sign up for NordVPN with the link in the description box down below. I really appreciate all of you guys being here. We're going to go ahead and wrap it out. But before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.